Yes, so like the Williams still in the premise that like proceed by using an event that need like the current new node of like that's like the criminal node that looks like the face like its plan might be to like trick that and then that's your opposite to things that it is like not alive and just for like motivating the rate to that so my approach like the new mod just like under our ability to like get the people like get to sneak out of like to create my feed along the like for looking very like I'm so dependent that who the control of that this that new mod of like and he might even be able to like survive underground maybe like access to the continue that way that like this might be along the lines of like the different variety of like skill that like the new modes of like that continue to everything to be the prevalent that like the new modes of the humanoid modes of the page might be like the combination of like the facing humanoid modes of as well as like the mini mind player of like mind class we might be correct, but this might be that you know just like strategy skills might be like electricity famous variables. So the name is that for benefit is that I'm talking about to that next end up with that then the update of that the housing day that for expansion has that has shared the same page has that the scenario that I'm going to like I'm talking from point agree into scenario to be for John making it towards like going up towards like energy to like analysis like break up with like energy and usually at that point I'm exploring that like Benson like not getting along with that Jonathan and they trying to get Jonathan to that go away as well as possible. But like under like the scenario to be up that Jonathan will be about to will be announcing his like breakup to that and will be about to be like at that point so I'm different that the situation with that President is happening and like exactly like how Eddie got shocked by like the way to see after like on that a similar scenario where like Nancy and Jonathan getting shocked here by like the strange way in which like Vincent would be acting as like the scenario and then Nancy as well as Jonathan believing that like for Vincent as well as like and definitely I'm remembering that that whole situation resulting in that shock resulting in that Nancy feeling disturbed and that leave like Jonathan instead of that like announcing break up that instead of like Jonathan deciding to like leave like Jonathan deciding to like continue stay with like Nancy to give that support for the scenario that I was and at that point when I was saying that Nancy most likely getting some sort of like proof as to that basically that finding some sort of proof as to that basically being an iris like scenario that I'm looking that way that Nancy and nursing of category without regular that Nancy and Jonathan that that category of like for themselves as that and they will then fighting like the body there and basically that way like I'm running that Jonathan that way getting trapped into like the new modes of adventure of like Nancy and I'm also trying towards that and that adventure land spanning in this land content will be getting a continuous finish will be getting right into and involved into and so different spanning all the way towards like the end of like season 4 of like Stranger Things and then to bring to the season 4 like of Stranger Things and so literally for like Jonathan and Nancy come down to the Jonathan deciding feeling foolish to have broken up with like Nancy just for like Jonathan to want to like stay with that will and basically the player will bring at that point that the decision the final decision that Jonathan and Nancy would be after that defeating bringing down that then you know stuff the industry gonna go like saying things like in scenario that and so like at that point I'm putting the decision Nancy and Jonathan will be taking down to would be Jonathan will be telling that as the story to like Nancy for that bringing up with like Nancy that way that can not breaking up and basically Johnson and Nancy taking the decision that they need to focus on prioritizing that was genuinely sweet right to them. So that way that Nancy continuing on the sub career current career that purpose career that like is genuinely right for like Nancy as well as like Johnson as well. At like person like being with like well that feels like totally genuinely right for like Johnson facing that and doing exactly that and that joining that Lenora community is like the enough that I'm also doing and like Nancy and Jonathan taking that decision to like basically to continue the relationship even if it's like long distance and basically to like not think about like future and it's like I'm totally from like Nancy Felling Johnson that is in like a few years like basically Will would be growing up and will be old enough to enter college and will be at that point that will be really able to like look after himself. And at that point, like Johnson don't have to always be around Will, stick around Will. Since like Will have fight and will be able to take care of himself to be along the line that Nancy will be telling Johnson. And basically Johnson will be only feeling that Nancy is fight and basically for until that point for like Nancy and John and until that point and eventually like the future laptop just the people laptop them to always prioritize on showing what he genuinely right to them and basically for them to like maintain the long distance relationship and good for them to like not overthink about the future and for them to like regardless of whether it's like for them to like not overthink or even take count of like whether Nancy like closest to California more than than some skill as topics or any of that. Basically, for them to only prioritize and focus on that is being able to like deal with these stuff whenever they get the time notes and will be along the lines like whether it's said like California or like something and maintain that on the field of them that they have going so well will be along the lines like Nancy and John, but would be like eventually coming down to that decision and basically the bond between them that grown stronger whenever at that point just like the reason for like the scenario that the bring a month together. So that definitely all comes to the my perspective for that might from this point on that repeatedly telling 11 that basically everyone should like leave Arizona and basically come to that Washington state with like and join like Hopkins school of Mike and basically stay with like Maxine and basically Mike telling 11 that like 11 will be a lot safer and happier that way. Mike would be telling 11, but like I'm just about that 11 that clear regard how many times like I might be prepared saying that and trying to like get 11 to like agree to it, like that 11 suddenly being adamant about like not wanting to like stay at that California at that exact point that Angela is and basically 11 wanting to like not run away anymore, not wanting to like run away and fight anymore. Like I'm so looking that even at that point, like at that point, the film is going as far what happened between like 11 and Mike being able to like understand 11, and basically that and 11 was actually telling Mike about like how she's I'm totally friend 11 at that point was actually telling Mike that she's okay, done with like running and fighting for throughout the night that day. That 11 and Mike has been through the way worse in the kind of jobs can basically so this that like this is something that 11 can't totally standing and basically everyone has to like or something without hiding or running away from by standing by learning like stand strong will be along the lines on those important for Hopper will be along the lines on the thing 11 especially with Black Angela having made fun of Black Hopper but the younger children like 11 the last thing 11 especially right now might want to do will be to land run away or hide from Angela definitely going to but so definitely, even if it's without that, with the situation being that you're not having access to that power and skill, 11 definitely will overcome the pressing situation. Because like Angela, it would be along the lines on the different by herself would be along the even if it's by herself would be along the lines on the different that 11 was like telling it might and definitely might at that point not being able to like understand 11 and so different might could be living in like the that with killing disappointment from California is like saying the scenario that I'm going to want to remain. But still I'm looking towards like 10 of relaxation for like I'm maybe when like I'm saying different mind when moving able to like understand 11. It's definitely getting the scenario that I'm looking for bring. My particular interesting right now is that like, and so might have definitely been one of like the group of like or actually four members who had that some of might be that activity is definitely on the right and like definitely straight away they might have set hopper like pocket and might have straight away might have found hopper that control that hopper that was and might have straight away found server of that of with 11 might be like a days of general operations. So like straight away that those group of like of members might have clicked at that photo from like the wallet because like they might have straight away seen that like that the photo might be extremely personal skill that hopper. So definitely with they might have already even at that point just might have had the intent to like send to that to definitely transport first transport Hopper to that to return basically from there to like simply like sneak out that Hopper and get Hopper exchange Hopper to like Joyce. They might have all seen like Joyce with Flash of Crime like the whole interpretation in like the personalities of and that way so definitely to make that exchange with like Joyce and basically in exchange for like money. Might be along the lines like they might have planned even at that point itself. So like with that plan like they might have given that sort of stuff like pop up which like might be from like pop up or it might be like that taken to use the new trade. So like they are doing that in between like the Russian post the like searches of stranger things like in between like the Russian post period of like interrogation of pop up like and so might have still be that and so while discussing with us that group of lessons might have in experiments they might have that still be one of two laptop while in like the presence of like basically like even food still laptop like it might be and so that might go in like the whole interrogation period it might have been and so that might have been in charge of like even giving food to laptop you might be like so that while giving food like and so might have had like secret conversation with laptop and so might have totally told of us basically that Enzo want that money and like if Enzo gets money then Enzo will get Hopper back to like back to the person that now one at like Hopper. Will be along the lines like Enzo might have told Hopper and definitely Hopper might have definitely straight away not out trust not about trust of Enzo was might be like that to thing which is definitely one thing. So like at that point might be when like Enzo might have sold that sort of like Hopper with like whatever from that of the wallet. So it definitely like at that point definitely on the front door in the interrogation like I'm doing it might have been totally obvious to like out of that basically the person person leader haven't found out about like so definitely on the current content so might have showed that photo to that of like offer was like relevant to that photo and might have shown photo that he created from that person person leader like at that point on the current offer might have definitely been able to like create and so definitely so like at that point, what top might have done might have been what might have lied to that info, most likely by telling info that like 11 is lack of a lot of times without revealing the full information coming to that 11 lakh. Or might have only revealed to that info about like there being this like fund coming to that 11 and basically that like and about like Joyce like basically Joyce will like for like and social like contact Joyce by and basically that she will give like info that the money she needs. So they are trying to the point might have trusted in person that point might have been what might have happened is so like it's quite like from like it might be the priori might be someone from like might be and so from so might be that not the part of like the matrix but like might have been someone from Russia who might be working at like Alaska definitely knows the record. So that would be that at that point what like Enzo might have been Enzo might have quickly contacted like Doris and basically to go up to like Hawkins and basically to find out details about like this the person's whereabouts of like the person by the name George Byers. So like that way like I'm referring that through that investigation of like Yuri might have figured that found out like the person whereabouts of like basically about like just having left Hawkins to California and like about like the person whereabouts of like the location of that church at like California. Might have been investigated, but you know, correct. So like that way, so that they're going to make the membership might be it might have been most likely Yuri that might also send like the all of like the Hawkins message to that choice or according to like the best of that and so to that Yuri might be what might have happened if you okay, so that definitely my question to question right now that like Enzo might be like they having tie up with like someone who's WhatsApp like that was from that Russia to US might be like the actual situation definitely not the brand. So that through the ship through mean to that basically to transfer that up just to like making hop up to the ship and it gives the transfer for hop up from like Russia back to hopper point in like the year for like you need to like pick up hopper from the year might be and for like you need to like get hopper bring hopper back to that choice might be along the lines of that the plan of like and so that needs might experience but and also like the money that Joyce would be given to that might be like according to like Enzo's plan, like the money that like Enzo might be only hoping for like to like give to like Yuri that money as well after Yuri taking just start like to give like hand over like the remaining of that money back to the friend of like Enzo to work with like the conversion. So that way transfer that money back to after like the friend getting his share like the money like to transfer like the money to Enzo and so that friends who might have who might be like the exact multiple special force members who found who was found out uh, after like the complex machine in like the rationality laboratory then it like the more and like explore might be that the activity of that only plan that like and so might be planned at first definitely might preempt it. So that we are able to bring that and to make that entire thing appear to like the person who's real as if like proper escape like somehow manage to like escape to make it appear that way to like the Russian post unit might be along the lines of like the plan and sort of like and so definitely might be like actual the situation of the name friend but like the name friend like very lab and so attempting at that and the name friend like George definitely paying like the money and like George getting back but like I'm the friend like the simple clear like mutually figuring out that about like the betrayals of like info and for instance, I like the Korean basically at that point I was trying that sort of thing like probably taking out like info and like from like things and scenario that I was about the canvas. So like quickly I was trying that and so I'm also trying and so will be going to be getting like the money like still and so will be getting found out by the leader and will be getting taken up by the supposed leader. It's like during the scenario that I'm about the but also my particular intention right now is definitely to about creating like even finding out about like the preference of like the created humanoid monster at like the section base and basically they are like and definitely one like probably finding out about it like bring right before that like Hopper Hopper and so come to that absolute agreement and like and so even revealing the exact date where like Hopper like escape that and so like the planning for like Hopper escape and transporting of Hopper so like the cargo ship and everything like definitely Hopper a bit only excited about it and been possibly only at that point that like Hopper would be happening to like by circumstances will be happening to like find out about that the presence of like the shapeless humanoid monster at like Russian base and the clear was bring the reason for like all the happenings at like Hawkins with like the situation of leprosy and even Fred Fenton as well. Like basically the risk of might be definitely that the case in like the construction of the laboratory uh, uh, Russian based lab which might definitely at present might be in its like open stage with like the government definitely might trend which will definitely open that by SharePoint like during that time while Hopper become excited to like return back home that end of find that Hopper at that point and that they will have time period like undergoing Hopper only only finding out about like the percent of like this like another complex machine in that production base as well as like the percent of like the base system as well as like an open game as well in like the production base like scenario that so like at that point I'm definitely bring like Hopper to that tell info that like Hopper wants to like return right now and like Hopper telling info that as like a change of plans and basically Hopper doesn't want to like return right now and Hopper that Hopper will only return back after that destroying like the complex machine in like the build as well as like taking out like that faceless humanoid monster as well as like that way by destroying like the complex machine by stopping closing the gate as well in like the thing there's like only after successfully doing that much will be only when lack of will be willing to that return back. So in the end of the line, that was lack of will be changing stuff like the plans so and telling so like so like the scenario that I'm playing. So like at that point, I'm spent Enzo probably getting in, feeling us that getting into such a dilemma, kind of like a situation where like and about the point, this change of plan, which Black Hopper would be telling, according to my friend, would be usually telling Enzo, would be usually starting in like Enzo and just like friends, either Enzo alone or like Enzo and just like group of friends. That probably starting to like, so there are two steps from attempting to like help Hopper with like Hopper's goal of like to like shake off like the humanoid face the monster as well as destroy like the from the machine. in like percentage and percentage. So definitely going to bring that way that it might be definitely that sort change of that the plan by Hopper to show that that would be used as something in like the stealth element getting destroyed and that eventually that in the messenger they were finding out about like Enzo's that betrayal and definitely that way things is traveling into that Enzo and such that front like getting taken out by the focus leader with like still scenario like everything. Actually I'm trying like focus and with like the help of Enzo and of like Enzo and his friends like really proceeding in like in taking out like the paper scene or most of as well as like destroying like the whole incident was in the case in like the base in Russia before that Hopper will be making it back to that back to like options like change the scenario that I'm going to right now. Okay, so like that makes my bit very interesting right now is that like person like the total information about like the electric was trying to think about like the Russian infiltration and like the Russian secret energy laboratory in like the knowledge of like that happening in like, the past as well as like since it was in like Indiana, like about all this like social information that comes from like the person in like the strange things like the US military might have become finally become aware about might be the capture of people to do supplements strength. So definitely like since it was at like Indiana that I think that Vermont had taken like over and crew to get their key for like set up to destroy like the Congress machine in like the pump. That's that might have been definitely the exact location where he might have been stored like there might have been like at like Indiana there might have been another small production facility that might have been like the case secret weapon with the great point where he might have been stored in the brain Mexico. We speak about all this like I'm going like after like the the minimized lab was like taken off after the gate was closed and after like the complex meeting was destroyed and after like the minimized lab was like taken off at like the uh, Russian lab of evidence like the modern office like at that point I'm like once and team might have not thought of like sir and then sorry time to like get rid of all the evidence crucial evidence connected to that connected to that the suppose that experiment in that secret professional energy that experiment like the knowledge well as like even like the creatures like many mind player like to clean up like the uh, body like the mini mind player as well to all of that like like on channel stream might have known gotten that before like the US forces like so that on channel stream might have not gotten like time might have been what might have happened to that way like the US schools might have arrived and they might have at that point might have been when that they might have found out like there is information about like that the monsters of like about like the existence of like the bad world and about like the monsters of like the parallel world and everything and about like corruption, separation and everything might have been like a especially not friendly. So like after finding out about this like the US folks like might have in the might have so then might have been planning on like fighting back against like the in the third system. So definitely with that intent like I'm referring maybe since then like I'm referring like the sign at like US might have started like their own from like the from like all the information that they might have got from like the by by storming through like that secret and the other region is like the all like I'm different definitely they might have gotten like more than information to like assigned to like the scientists with like the task of like creating their own version of like the complex machine and basically at present like I'm referring that the US was might be planning on most likely fighting back by doing like the very exact things that are supposed to get by like basically making that stealthy infiltration to like Russia like the strange things and basically to like stealthily fed a secret US energy laboratory at like Russia with that as stealth and basically to and build a complex machine there and basically another complex machine at like at like a secret US laboratory at like Indiana and basically to have like simultaneously like these two complex machines like open up gates to like the parallel world and that way for like the US forces to like make that infiltrating to that make that as with inspirations and attack Russia in like the states of strange things might be along the lines and sort of things that the US forces might be at present in a sort of strange things might be in like the um, in that the attempt of that and the progress of might be reflected if it is against the lead by persevering and surviving. Okay, so that's sort of lead my persevering and surviving right now is that the these sources were like maintain as well as like as well as like field and about the place that many of these were there might be a lot of excess extensive forest might be that close to where like happening for live naturally might be like the case like a possibility that I'm like people like in living at like a location looks like base being at like a location close to like some of like extensive forest might be the reason for like just like nickname. Yes, like but my personal remembrance right now is that like in like the long distance bus might have experimented on that with the trail, like with the trail might have been pronounced like very such like just such a like experience even before like survey or even before like pronounced like 11 total number of like 11 test subjects even before all the like everything like it might have been with the trail that might have been back when like Run might have been working at like much cultural, like it might have been with the range that might have been like the lyrics of the subject like Run might have been like the case of so like back then that is the real that might have been already pretty and might have been that might have been at some technique might have been like the case definitely one driver. So like enough Michael Run might have used its like influence to that to with that aspect just like transfer with the real some person as like a to like as like a topic so like might have been more so that the very first topic of like Pranav experiment might have been with the trail certainly not friendly because with the trail might have been back then 40 minutes might have been already crazy like and something that so going through Pranav like experiment might have even though he might have gained like the technical flaws but like he was like he might have gone ended up like you know kind of constant to like the even more crazy and like and different like might have put this upgrade into like a trap kind of like kind of state while runner might have been conducting it like explain the might have been like a minutes and so like the upgrade on gaining lag the technical spouse that might have that totally create himself and lag that might have been a huge explosive attack of like technical from lack of the the moment which the field might have Venezuela different managed out other like pick up in training trading calls might have been or might have happened so like there might have been an explosion at that point. That explosion might have like that absolute television calls and that explosion might have resulted in like the free getting trapped in like the parabol like this the walk here like instantly opening up and getting trapped into like the parabol might have been what might have happened without it like permanently staying in like an open like state like it might have been a scenario where like the telekinesis person might have from the software might have thought like a software to like get sucked into like the particles might have been what might have happened suddenly no kind of like it might have been any kind of situation that how that 11 in actual symbol was like how can score by attacking like the inner state with amount of sort like sucked into like the and getting trapped in like the parable like this it might have been a similar kind of like scenario where like instead of like there being any monster like it might have been the telekinesis exposing on that of like the screen that might have been which was really trapped in like the band work even back then in like the long bus might have been what might have happened certainly months ago. So like after being trapped in like the band like and like eventually might have without a really might have running to like a page to nerd monster and might have probably trying to like escape from like the page to nerd monsters of like the band but might have eventually got captured by one of the page to nerd monsters and like that page to nerd monster might have put the into that trap kind of like state that trap state in which like how perhaps in a close and like simple had found when trapped in like Japan was like after getting captured by the British nerd most of like it might have been in a similar kind of like state that which the race might have fallen trapped in like Japan but after getting captured by the British nerd most and that trap kind of state might be like an ongoing process of like the conversion of like human into like a British nerd most like the bad world might be just the case for me like that means that long symbol like the software might have have that transformation happening to him and might have got converted into like a state of learn more of like bad what might have been what might have happened to me and actually I'm different in the recent person like I'm different as part of like the giant of the mind like making it like next move against like relevant and might and through that it might have slightly happened to like maybe that the police into like the giant mind have happened to like the now memories, like I think that so that leads into this like a different like the giant for the mind player might have my share points in might have with the trail transform that like the basic in might have the share points might have happened like around into like the giant mind player might have been like really so like the giant mind player might have been something for like the most suitable that suitable like criminal faces want of like the giant mind player to like give special power to like give a special power to like make such a powerful transformation and like definitely like the giant mind flap might have been something for like only the similar monster like the one with like the most realistic mindset and definitely I'm referring like one like the giant of the mind flap might have tested like the face humanoid monster so, and might have taken control of like that face humanoid monster which might have been in fact like it's a face transformed like at that point like I'm going through the now memories of like that face of humanoid monster like and like the giant in Minecraft might have been completely to the experience realistic mindset of like recurring present in that basically most of might have been a thing. So like definitely like at that point like the giant in Minecraft might have found like that exact nerd most of as like the perfect candidate for like the giant Minecraft to give that extra special power of like the transformation. That way, like it might have been Victor Frame of the human Victor Frame eventually getting transformed into like a humanoid mode of that. Eventually, after getting taken control control by like the giant Minecraft, like the giant Minecraft, like by lending a lot of its like to an extent of its like power, like might have for that transformation to happen to like the humanoid most of the frame into like turning into this like new monster that like the face that has basically right now attacked and taken control of that. So it might be the biggest communal trend as well. Definitely this might have been so like that new monster might be actually like might have been actually once like with the face that might was very important. So like the state might lead you to like the memories of like core memories of like just real like still present in this like new monster that like new monster that basically when it comes to that it's like attack of a control for like to see like the patterns of like the attack of like picture frame like reappearance there in the case of like the might be due to like all the situations might be like the case like a possibility that the situation is yes, so like account demand differentiation token thing. Instead of the same for like thread as well so like eventually and that exactly like okay, but like I'm only going for that certainly happen after like Johnson will be showing up and meeting up with like 19 like the person for like thread and like definitely after like Johnson and then Johnson will take Nancy about like the breakup and like definitely for the fact was to be after such a scenario that ends up bring like thread will be usually getting up uh, uh, ending up in like a very present state that like the people that didn't scenario that I'm visible friend. So definitely right now like I'm so different that definitely managing getting care and most likely seeing that very same like monster like humanoid like monster with like the face that like the same I've seen like I'm probably going like right now most likely something like the form like seeing that exact monster perfect has fine like scenario but yet like I'm like managing to like run away and make it back towards that and I think it's like the like the scenario that I'm really right now. Okay, so like leave what is very understand right now that will still even though the person might be having that might be physically holding on to the hope that is the of that the long distance relationship between that 11 and might to like not work out and this lead for like 11 to that break 11 and might to definitely break up might be and the lines that will even though the person might be something that will might have been hoping since way back and might be even hoping even though the person might be like that 20 days to leave us so this might be the reason for that. Will even though the person even after like 11 getting set up by Angela, like still will in that carries man of about like concerning 11 like totally focusing on like Will's like friendship with like my I don't like basically might be all due to like this like particular not likely still even though the person not likely existing within it might be like that the different situations that need on credit. So like the painting that, of like will hides from that 11 might be that the painting of like might that will might out might be like actual between the name of the because like even though the person like it might be like having that different one like might be that the accuracy of executing the clean method framework. So yes, like I'm referring to the most likely towards like the end of that season 4 that I'm not referring well. So we finally moving on from my can we finally come down to such an acceptance kind of like a period that with 11 that Mike loves and basically it's like the right person for like Mike and not well and like that will need to like move on from that high time that like will move on from Mike and just so Mike as like good friend, you know, might be along the lines of like an individual realization and absolute realization like happening to like very towards like the end of that season 4. It's like the scenario that I'm looking at and definitely I'm looking like in season 5 Strange Things like will most likely having getting about in like season 5 of like Strange Things like the scenario that I'm looking at. Okay, so like many of the friends and we want to look for like my could be find it 11 like my specific and badly wanting that really wanting 11 to like going back to like hoping to like hoping for and the leader not agreeing and plus walk straight away happening between that my 10 11 and stuff they are with like that walk immediately aiming up with like 11 maybe shouting out to like Mike to like leave us alone and so back you know just like maybe like 11 even telling to shouting out to like Mike just also in that moment race like the scenario that I'm sorry. And I'm totally bring maybe let's say that like 11 probably running off back to home and basically uh, at that point I'm looking for like might probably being in such an absolute shock and basically at that point I'm looking for like will to be most likely be present with like Mike and at that point I'm looking for maybe for like will they're going to even the extent of like trying to like make the sugar bond between that Mike and 11 even worse. It's also like a possibility that I'm looking. Maybe we'll put that up with just that in a slightly realistic manner, like basically trying to make the bond between like Mike and 11 uh, gets even worse by like steadily saying things to that Mike and basically maybe steadily so in like Mike just happens like saying things to like 11 involving Mike and that way that will in a slightly realistic manner that happens that that they're trying to like manipulate that Mike as well as like 11 separately and trying to like get them to like complete right up with like instead of with like doing the scenario that I'm basically so and definitely so that way that maybe that like that attempt of that will to end up becoming a subsequently that 11 that with like a serious things like basically maybe uh, unlike in like the past like with like a serious stage like would be shouting out so might that she has open up the black might just like scenarios that I'm looking and might straight away leaving and heading back to like often like the scenarios that I'm looking at. But like I'm looking to that point on like I'm looking that will be witnessing how extremely element like sad about like losing my of like basically when I said that to like my and all of that like I'm putting that element like regret like and pain and that was like I'm just putting that guilt to be witnessing it that as each day passes then definitely that sort of certain like that absolute feeling of guilt getting formed more and more with it will to the point of like I'm will probably maybe eventually calling Mike and basically confessing to like Mike how like how that will had played the role in like basically 11 breaking up with like Mike and basically that they like a different guilt confession like initially asserting in like basically Mike as well as like 11 basically uh like their relationship like once again getting sort of like scenario that I'm looking at different kind of the and even though initially I'm looking that Mike and 11 to be totally giving that race towards that build like I'm so different like them to lead that forgiving with is like the scenario that I'm looking at and over yes, so like definitely my booking today emotional right now is definitely for like 11 to get it straight away from 11 to like school. Due to the I'm looking like and there are parents that basically filing complaint and definitely I'm looking that even getting into the case of my basically definitely I'm looking that the voice being online and at that point I'm so different for like one choice like requesting to that and leading to that and there are like parents as well as like and there are to like drop like charges against like 11 and complaint against like 11 and definitely I'm looking like in three Angela most likely like that definitely was like Angela stand not agreeing, but like Angela finally agreeing to like probably to like drop the complaint, but only on the condition that like 11 uh absolutely apologize to like Angela is like doing the scenario that I'm looking over, right? So that even Charlie refusing to do that, and basically that definitely I'm looking at that when Mike as well as next choice will be Charlie repeatedly telling Eleven to that definitely apologize to that Angela. But like definitely getting attached to like those are definitely that probably triggering Mike as well as he enjoys and basically like that them getting angry at like Eleven getting angry back at them because like from Eleven's perspective Eleven will be feeling as if like she has done absolutely nothing wrong and like it was like Angela that has done everything wrong. Like Eleven actions of like attacking Angela like for Eleven it Eleven might not be feeling like as if like wrong. So Eleven definitely Carly refusing to like apologize to Angela and maybe Eleven even telling George and Mike that basically that Eleven will only apologize to like Angela if like Angela apologizes to Eleven about like making some like more along his lines like and he made Eleven making that demand and definitely I'm referring that whole situation resulting in like definitely eventually like the complaint Angela's like parents eventually is like was requesting and pleading to Angela's parents so much that basically eventually Angela's parents and Angela eventually agreeing to like drop the charges, but like under like the condition that like everyone's going to against it, well, it's like the scenario that I'm looking for. So that definitely happening. And at that point, I'm totally putting my most likely telling George to exactly how 11 stay with like Maxine at like Hopkins and basically join like Mike to uh, and so that like basically with like Mike and all of them that having watching all of like 11 like basically like they will just like watch all of 11 and basically ensure that nothing goes wrong and that 11 doesn't get made fun like would be along the lines like Mike would be telling Josh and the play Josh would be totally agreeing and like Josh would be telling 11 to for that transfer to like Hawkins to like Mike to but like and like Joseph will be telling 11 in that point that the 11 can be with her friends and be with like Mike would be enough the lines like Joseph will be telling 11 but like 11 refusing to like leave California in that definitely just like doing good scenario that into the point like 11 for they're refusing to like run away and basically hide anymore like they're on the lines of like stand 11 will be taking and that Liam was referring at that point, like even Joyce and Mike also being disappointed in like 11 and like that Liam was saying that whole situation even the referring anymore, likely 11 maybe even running away from like Joyce or was like potential scenario that I'm looking at the information was right. And 11 that way deciding to like basically like running off from like Joyce from like 11 maybe deciding to like head off to like careers of and live like career like looking at that I'm doing. But like along the way like I'm maybe 11 once again running into by just like 11 once again running into Cali and like Cali like for over again once again expecting scenario that I'm doing. And I'm feeling maybe that way like 11 once again that spent at that point like 11 maybe deciding to like permanently join like Cali and like they're off again. So at that point would be feeling so accepted by interacting with like Kelly and like the sort of gang that like when deciding to like permanently join the gang. So like anything is the possible scenario that I'm just about to right now. And also according to my definition, and like, even at that point, like I'm like top that close to like not every game to like 11 about like over being and because like actually I'm saying that might be most likely due to Joe's success like maybe considering like the possibility of like maybe that all of the choice and more government like theories and books or maybe actually being fortunate that they haven't got actual concrete evidence of like of being alive that if it's like scams and like they need to not give 11 any sort of like false hopes like I'm totally from that so this is that reason I don't like including choice not revealing that to 11 about like the possibility of that of being alive reflecting the scenario that I'm doing. And that probably playing a huge factor in that basically 11 not knowing that I'm probably playing not that they usually playing a huge factor in that 11 running away from like those uh due to like the whole and like to like saying that I'm also about but I'm not playing it right now. It is so that the TV experience right now is for like recovery most likely it might out form of head out to like get supplies for like at the end might be like the days that for something or so that like, they are trying once again Steve exactly like in Eddie is like I'm whispering that Steve once again becoming like the victim of like another threat and yeah once like the public will be scarcely like returning back to like the at that point I'm whispering once again what the definitely Steve itself ending up becoming like the target of like the victim of like the threat and yeah uh, twice. at like the same time. So that's the scenario that I'm looking at the friend. So like I definitely according to my open theory and that I'm still going to let it trade my definitely being that I just been past like victim of that metal rock and my process that telekinesis powers due to that program most likely having experimented on the trade electric past. And after that, the consumer and also operating that circuit after that might have gotten trapped in the pattern and might have gotten transformed into transformed into a basis humanoid monster and then recently understood like it might have ended up becoming the collection of like the control of like the giant mind flare and might have the giant mind flare might have given the additional transformation of like the mind flare's transformation and that way that with the prince that new monster form might have had like the face might have been what might have happened to Stephanie Monster in this way like with the trail at first it might be this like new monster with like the power of like telekinesis as well as like the power of like the faceless humanoid monster as well as like the powers of like the mind flare all these three powers that combine this like new mode of might be put of weight might be offering definitely my intention. This might be the rate of the accuracy while in that kind situation of like involving crazy electricity was like lifted up into the air that might be with the great like telekinetic powers like on the act and basically as for like the situation with like the bones of electricity as well at that exact time might be all due to the current like in the black new monster transform form like most likely using uh the black telekinetic powers on like it might be like that quickly or the situation that might be very able. So that's still the my premise that like something premise that the like new monster which might be actually certainly compared to this like new monster might be only a subordinate of like the original giant mind flash for example especially on the temperature so everything with the phrase is like doing the second one is like doing at first and might be all according to that it's like following the orders of like and wishes and desires of like the giant person mind flash the task that it has assigned to that if you want to feel might be like active it is that you are currently that so mindful app and mindful app will be a whole lot extremely superior to stronger than with that this upgrade most of might be that active figures that you know every kind of make the then mindful app might be on at present might be on a journey to like find out where exactly like the gate from like the bad word to like the real word is in like the open like state because like definitely the giant I'm typically mentioning that like the giant of human might also control like to find out where exactly that takes so that might then be to that find it out and like so it might it might be traveling across like the searching throughout like the parabol find out where exactly that gate is open so that like it should send like all of it like control army of like facing green red not through that gate to like the real world might be along the lines of like the plan of like the giant organ mind flare might be at present the supplement forever. So like while the giant organ mind flare is like away like from talking to like maybe like the giant organ mind flare might have said like with this like with the frail new monster to like basically to like all the damage and like the discussion and like might be like that with the situation that game and three. Like you know that game is from like it's a human impression that like even before like the giant ocean mind crab would be able to like find travel through like the or travel through the bad world before according to bad person before it's even being able to like make it to return like the bad world or even find that gate that might be no like the person might be like the only gate from like bad world to like the real world that person that might be open might be like the only gate in like the Russian energy laboratory in Russia. There might be that one single gate alone that might be open, might be at the present situation definitely much friendly. So before like the genders and mindful would even be able to like make it towards like finding that open gate, like I'm totally for like pop up along with like Enzo and a bunch of like Enzo's friends like succeeding in like basically destroying like the complexity as well as like taking out like the patient's most of and a trap in that Russian space in like Russia. It's like in like let's say it's a strange thing, it's like the even the scenario that I'm just all the program of that I'm